A buyer signed a contract to buy a house, and a new entity showed up out of nowhere on the chain of title, killing the deal. The seller had skipped title insurance years earlier, so nobody caught the defect, and now their ownership is in question permanently. I'm Richard Kistner, a real estate attorney in the New York City area, and this is exactly what title insurance protects against: forged deeds, old liens, fraud that happened before you closed but nobody found out. By the end of this video, you'll know what title insurance actually covers, how it works at your closing, what can go wrong without it. The seller in that story was an investor who bought a house and chose not to get a title insurance policy. When my client went into contract to buy it, a title search revealed a new entity on the chain of title. The party that sold the house to that investor may not have had good title to begin with. The contract had to be canceled, and that investor may never be able to sell the property because their ownership interest is clouded. One decision to save on insurance and the property might be permanently unsellable. But those aren't the only problems hiding in the records. Old mortgages where the bank never filed a satisfaction after it was paid off come up regularly. Sometimes mortgages that are 50 years old or more. When those transactions were insured, the title company can confirm the mortgage was paid even without a recorded satisfaction. Without title insurance, you'd have to track down that satisfaction yourself or go to court to get a discharge order. Time and money that a one-time premium would have prevented. And here's where it gets worse. Deed theft in the New York City area is accelerating. Over 500 complaints were filed in New York City in 2025 alone, a 240% surge from just 2 years earlier, concentrated in Brooklyn and Queens. Properties facing foreclosure are especially vulnerable because people attempt to fraudulently transfer ownership to block the foreclosure. If they succeed, the real owners left fighting to prove they owned their own home. So, what's the product that's supposed to prevent all of this? That's title insurance. And here's what title insurance actually is. When you buy a house in the New York City area, what you're really buying is a bundle of legal rights. The right to live there, sell it, mortgage it, lease it, and pass it to your heirs. Those rights are what title means and your legal status as the owner. If someone else has a competing claim that predates your purchase, your title is defective. Now, here's where most people get confused. Title insurance guards against those defects, the problems rooted in the past that weren't caught during the search. That's what separates it from homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance covers future events like a fire or storm. Title insurance covers past events as it relates to title, a forged deed from 10 years ago, an unpaid tax lien that was never recorded properly, a missing mortgage discharge. It's backward looking, insuring against things that already happened but haven't surfaced yet. You pay the premium once at closing and the coverage doesn't expire. In a typical purchase with a mortgage, you'll get two policies. The lender's policy protects the bank's interest, making sure their lien is valid and that the policy is almost always required if you're financing. The owner's policy protects your ownership up to the full purchase price, and unlike the lender's policy, it doesn't decline as you pay down the mortgage. The bank's policy protects the bank. The owner's policy protects you. You need both. If you're buying a co-op, traditional title insurance doesn't apply the same way since you're purchasing shares, not real property. So co-op buyers usually rely on a lien search instead. So, how does this actually happen at your closing? How title insurance works at closing. After you sign the contract of sale, your attorney orders a title search from a title abstract company. The search examines public records, deeds, mortgages, court judgments, tax liens, child support, tracing the chain of ownership to confirm you're actually getting clear title. What comes back is a title report listing the current order, outstanding liens, open mortgages, judgments, and other encumbrances that could affect your ownership. Your attorney reviews that report and works to clear problems before closing. Old liens have to get paid off, missing mortgage discharges to get recorded, and judgments have to be settled. If a serious unresolved claim exists, the title company may refuse to insure it until it's resolved, or it may list the issue as an exception to your coverage, meaning that specific problem won't be covered. Your attorney's job is to make sure you're not walking into a known problem. At closing, you'll get your policy and pay the premium once. It's not a recurring bill. In New York, the state approves the rates through through the Title Insurance Rate Service Association. So the premium is basically the same no matter which company your attorney selects. The cost typically runs about 0.4% to 0.6% of the purchase price. On a $500,000 home, that's roughly $2,000 to $3,000 paid one time for coverage that lasts as long as you own the property. And if a covered claim ever comes up after you close, the title insurance company has to defend your title in court and cover the losses up to the limit policy. It's like car insurance, but for your house. Now, here's the question I hear most often. Can you just skip it? Because some agents will ask if you want to close without it to save money. And there's a related trap involving the seller's existing policy that I want to warn you about. Can you skip it? And a trap to watch out for. If you have a mortgage, the lender requires a lender's policy. You can't close without it. So the real question people ask is about the owner's policy, whether they can waive that. Technically, in some situations you can, but if a pre-existing title defect surfaces later on, you're the one paying to fight for your ownership in court. The lender's policy protects the bank's lien, not your equity. If someone challenges your title and wins, the bank gets paid from the insurance, but you could lose your entire investment. Now, there's a trap that comes up, especially when some real estate agents try to save their clients money on closing costs. Sometimes the seller offers to transfer their existing owner's policy to you at a reduced cost instead of getting a fresh policy. This sounds like a deal, but it could be risky. If the seller's original policy had exceptions, say pending litigation against the property or known easements that weren't resolved, you inherit those same exceptions. You're not getting clean coverage. You're getting whatever limitations were already baked into that policy. And those exceptions could be exactly the problems that end up costing you. Properties that have gone through foreclosure carry even higher risk. Fraud is common in those situations. And people try to change ownership to save a house from being foreclosed on. Title insurance companies can catch these schemes during the search, but only if the search and policy are done properly for your transaction. Of all the costs in a real estate purchase, title insurance should be non-negotiable. Deeds get transferred each and every day, sometimes incorrectly, and that creates cloud on title. A single payment at closing covers you against a large unknown risk. Skipping it to save a few $1,000s can cost you far more than that down the line. Title insurance protects you from hidden problems in the chain of ownership. But there's another mistake buyers make even before they sign a contract, and it has nothing to do with title. It's skipping the checks that can reveal thousands in hidden costs or kill the deal after you've already put down a deposit. Building violations, bad inspection, a tenant who won't leave on closing day. Any of these can turn your purchase into a mess if you don't catch it early. And you can discover how all of this works by watching this video right over here.